free. The human being were born free. But for our own causes, we wanted to be together, and the society was formed. And when there is a society, there are rules. And when there are rules, and the misuses of rules, and when the misuses of rules, then obviously we lost the freedom. And when you lost the freedom, again we are going for getting the freedom. So it goes on circling. So economical, political, social, it will go on and on. But long back, they developed another type of idea, the freedom from all the bondages. So the moment we are born, so by some way we are bound. But then they wanted to get the idea how to go beyond all these bondages. So they thought, why not develop something by which we can go beyond this? And they developed Vedanta. It's a unique conception, a different angle that you can approach. And when you can free yourself from all, then there's a great joy. Why we need freedom? We need freedom to be happy. And here, the great thinkers, ancient thinkers, they gave us that opportunity to go beyond all bondages. We will be listening from our learned Swamis about that spatial freedom, how spiritual practices can help us in defending freedom and human rights. I will invite Swami Kripamayananda ji, the head of the Vedanta Society of Toronto, Canada, to give us a light on that.
Good afternoon, friends. My topic today is how spiritual practice helps to defend human rights and freedom. Human freedom is generally regarded as having two dimensions, external and internal. External freedom includes political freedom and social freedom. Internal freedom includes intellectual freedom, moral freedom, and spiritual freedom. All these realms of freedom are generally treated as if they were independent of each other. Swami Vivekananda was the first great thinker to show that all these types of freedom are expressions of a single existential urge for freedom derived from the intrinsic freedom of the Atman or true self. Swamiji showed that religion based on universal principles such as the innate freedom of the self can exert a tremendously liberating influence on the minds of people. Religion in its true experiential essence is a constructive force which fosters enlightenment, freedom, progress, and harmony. Swami Vivekananda showed that this view of religion as a liberating and harmonizing force is not a utopian ideal, but an immensely practical proposition. Swamiji was not a speculative philosopher, but a prophet and pathfinder with a new gospel of intended gospel of serving God in man. He called his system of thought practical Vedanta, which was intended to help every person, even the poorest and the most ignorant, in all situations of life to attain freedom, dignity, strength, and fulfillment. The identification of pure consciousness with mind and body is known as bondage, which is the cause of all suffering. The ultimate goal of life is to break this bondage and attain the freedom of pure consciousness. Thus, freedom is traditional Hindu philosophy. It is an ultimate goal of value. It can be attained only through the great struggle and is means for a few individuals who choose the path of nivritti or renunciation. Swami Vivekananda looked upon freedom as a basic existential urge underlying all life activities. Swamiji illustrates this path by the example of a worm and a locomotive. He says that a locomotive was going through a rail, the iron rail, and there was a small worm. Finding the vibration, the worm crosses the rail and saves itself. Locomotive is bound, huge, powerful, but it is bound on the track. Small worm has the consciousness to an intelligence to protect itself. In that way, the small worm is much greater in expressing its free will, its life-saving capability than the huge and powerful locomotive. Another idea of Swami Vivekananda is that since the individual self is a part or reflection of the Supreme Self, each soul is potentially divine. That is to say, all the knowledge, power, beauty, strength, and glory that we seek outside are already within us in a potential form. These capacities manifest themselves when the obstacles are removed. Swami Vivekananda gives the example of irrigation. There is water flowing in the irrigation channel. As soon as the farmer removes a part of the embankment, water rushes into the field. The urge for freedom that we all feel within is the urge to break the obstacles to the manifestation of the divinity within. As Swamiji has put it, each man is infinite already. Only these bars and bolts and different circumstances shut him in. But as soon as they are removed, he rushes out and expresses himself. So we all are potentially free ultimately. Only obstacles, only bondage is because of ignorance of our true nature. When we understand our freedom, innate freedom, by removing the obstacles of ignorance that create bondage, we experience the freedom of the soul. Swami Vivekananda always said, the music of the soul is freedom. Soul chants, freedom, freedom, oh freedom. And that is for every human being. Not that external freedom will be enough. Those are helpful. But we want inner freedom, freedom from ignorance. Swamiji saw that what poor and downtrodden people needed most was a message of strength which would enable them to break the bonds of priestcraft, social tyranny, injustice and exploitation. Swamiji found this message of strength and freedom in the Vedanta. Vedanta should be the message for all, for the masses, for the ignorant, for illiterate, and all will get strength and have the self-confidence, and they will break all the bondage that make them bound. Real freedom can come from the knowledge of our true self. Swamiji also made religion a liberating force instead of being a restraining force. This he did by separating the life-giving, eternal and universal spiritual truths of religion from the non-essential outer forms, and also by separating true religion from social institutions. Spiritual concepts such as divinity of the soul, seeing God in all people, and so on, can liberate the minds of people from fear, hopelessness, selfishness, etc., and bring into existence a new society of enlightened individuals. Liberty is the first condition of growth, says Swami Vivekananda. And so he never advocated a steamroller model of socio-economic reform. The beginnings of socialism had already been made and Swamiji was aware of it. And he always upheld the freedom of the individual and believed that social problems could be solved in a democratic way by spreading education. He stated, "My whole ambition in life is to set in motion a machinery which will bring noble ideas to the door of everybody, and then let man and woman settle their own fate. We are to put the chemicals together. The crystallization will be done by nature according to her laws." How to have this freedom known, how to realize the intrinsic, innate freedom of the soul, that needs to be done through practice. Practice is important to feel. Always when we see someone, we should see, instead of seeing the human being or animal, we should see the living, powerful soul, divine soul that resides in the heart of everyone. Infinite possibilities, wonderful beauty, that Satyam Shivam Sundaram, that lurks from inside the soul of everyone. We should try to see that, and we should try to behave to others like we are behaving God in human being. That's why Swami Vivekananda said, serve a man seeing God in him. Then it is the real service. And that the spiritual practice begins to remove all the obstacles of ignorance from our mind, and the soul then manifests itself. Swamiji said that there is a light in the soul, but that is covered with a dark screen. There is a small hole. Through that hole the light comes. Now that hole has to be made bigger with the spiritual practice, with our behavior, with our friendliness, with accepting everyone, with accepting all the cultures, and making the whole world our own. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Whole universe is our family. All beings are my own reflection. Seeing that is the practice that we need to do. When we do that, all moral and spiritual practice that we perform makes that whole bigger. And the more light of the soul falls, we become aware of our true nature. The more there is selfishness, the immorality, then that hole shrinks and it closes. Then we don't find light anywhere. Sri Ramakrishna quoted that, said, "Renounce everything and practice spiritual discipline for God realization." Renunciation often seems to be very difficult word, as if giving up everything. It is not giving up everything. It is giving up of what that stops us from manifesting our true nature. It's giving up of bondage. It is giving up of ignorance, selfishness. That is renunciation. Renunciation is making the whole world our own. That is true renunciation. I will close with the message of Holy Mother, that Holy Mother, Sri Sharada Devi, the divine consort of Sri Ramakrishna, said, "The more we sincerely try to get rid of our egos, selfish desires and other passions through spiritual practices, the more we fill our hearts with love and learn to make the whole world our own. Just like Holy Mother Sri Sharada Devi had said and lived accordingly, then there will be no separation between you and I, and we will be ever free." Thank you very much.